This is the fan engagement panel. We have Thomas, we have Derek and Michael. I let them do their own intros just to make sure that we get everything sorted out straight. My name is Rayment. I'm from Football Co. If you don't know us by a company name, we are the world's biggest football media and culture company, own numerous football media brands around the world. Our biggest in the Netherlands is Voetbal Zone. That includes Goal, it includes Cora, we do podcasts, long form, short form video, rather snazzy collaborations with music stars on kits, whole plethora of things. I also have a little side hustle as well, producing the Football Co Business Podcast. So if you like this kind of thing, search for that, loads more of it. I'm going to pass over to you guys to do your own intros. So who wants to go first?
Thank you. So, hi guys, my name is Derek. I'm the founder of Brandlead, the only marketing agency in Europe that is fully focused on women's sports. So we help right holders on one side attract fans to matches of the women's game. So what we see is that a lot of football clubs in Europe all have the same challenge. How they don't know how to attract enough fans to the match of the women's game. So that's what we help them with, fan engagement strategy. And on the other side, we also help brands activating into women's sports. We activate sponsorships into women's sports. And yeah, that's mainly what we do.
Michael?
Thanks so much for having us here. So my name is Michael Mello. I'm CEO for Sun Global Transportation. We do logistic transportation for the soccer teams, the fans, the sponsorships, all the while. And it was a pleasure to be here at Soccerex. You've been coming here since 2014, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, my name is Thomas. I have an agency called The Athlete Brand. I've been in sports for about 25 years, working in a variety of roles. In my current role, I focus on developing athlete brands, the brands and businesses behind the athletes, as were just discussed in the previous panel. And I work with rights holders, agents, sponsors to maximize the influence, the income, the independence, but also the social impact of individual athletes.
To kick things off, Thomas, someone who's head to toe Adidas and has quite an extensive career involving many years at Adidas. As we're going to be talking about athletes, we can't kind of not mention the latest Adidas campaign, which kind of came out last week. How did you find that as somebody who's kind of not with the company anymore, but maybe admiring from afar?
Well, I thought it was relatively iconic. I think you have to throw the word iconic around quite cautiously, but I really enjoyed it.
Iconic and authentic. We need to mention those two things.
Well, yeah, iconic and authentic, the two buzzwords have been mentioned. Data maybe is the
We're going to data.
Yeah, okay, cool. No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it's definitely made for a US-centric audience. It's very lifestyle-oriented. There are not a lot of football boots in there. I thought arguably one of the biggest icons is actually the match ball that is playing a lead character role in that film. I thought also Trinity Rodman was a surprise star appearance. I thought it was really well done. I don't know if you agree, but I
loved it. It's one of the films, 5-minute film that I've watched probably about 10 times.
It's arguably the World Cup spot with the largest amount of dialogue in the history of World Cup spots, I think.
Yeah, I loved it. Well, we can go back onto that. I mean, Chalamet I thought was a great choice as well. But we'll start with the World Cup chat. So my own history, I'm a Juventus fan. I first got into football following Juventus after Baggio USA 94. And we always discuss fans following players as some sort of as something that's new. And I appreciate kind of it has changed considerably over those years, but it's happened before. But the difference thing is when I followed Baggio when he recently moved to Juventus. I'm a Chelsea fan, and I'm a Chelsea fan because Vialli went to Chelsea. But when those players did that, social media followers didn't change. They didn't take tens of millions of followers with them, but that is something that does change now. From your experience, how do you see that as a kind of a barometer for the changing kind of way that fans engage with athletes?
Well, I think if we look at the history of sports, then the history of sports and the money in sports has always followed media infrastructure. So at the times when we got television after the Second World War, we started forming national leagues, we started shaping the product of sports around selling TV advertising. Then we got satellites in the 80s, we started making 24-hour television. We started gathering rights from all over the planet. We started building global icons. Then we got the internet. We started building digital communities. But now the situation is such that digital capabilities are so easy and so cheap that athletes can build communities in far better ways than rights holders actually can. So if we add up the NFL, the MLB, the NHL, the NBA, and the FIFA World Cup, then together those 5 assets have roughly 400 million followers, cumulatively, all combined. If you just add up Ronaldo, Messi, and Neymar Jr., they have 2 billion. And now we look at the people, the agencies, the capabilities, the creative skill, the advertising power that is being invested by these 5 leagues, and we compare it to what's happening around these 3 athletes. And then I think the amount of value that is not being capitalized on, I think, is quite significant.
You mentioned 3 athletes then. They're all quite 3 different kind of athletes. You mentioned, sorry, it was Ronaldo, Neymar, and Messi. Yeah, so you have Ronaldo, who's almost like the biggest billboard in football. Messi, who's a little bit quieter, let's say, and Neymar, who's almost got kind of like a rebel persona, and you'll see him do campaigns for poker companies and gaming companies. Do you think, based on that, then it's important that players are able to differentiate themselves from each other as well, so you don't have 5 Neymars in your marketing strategy? You have those who can identify with different player personas.
Yeah, I think the mechanic is not based on their differences. It is based on the observation that we're making is that humans are bigger than highlights. So, of course, without turning this into a brand building clinic, strong brands are built of 3 components. The first of them being distinctiveness. If you are like everybody else, you are invisible. The only thing that's better than being better is being different. So, of course, a brand needs to be distinctive. They also need to be consistent, which is partially discipline, and the other part, the marvelous word of authenticity. And then there's visibility, and you can work on each 3 of these. So you can make your brand more distinctive, you can make your brand more consistent, and you can make your brand more visible. And if you do all 3, you'll end up with a much stronger brand. And that is the same for every athlete, every rights holder, every club, every federation, and every sponsor. If you're distinctive, consistent, and visible, you'll have a strong brand.
So Derk, taking that approach, is it something you can kind of copy and paste and put into the women's game?
Yeah, definitely. So at the women's game, there are a lot of young generations attending matches, mainly young girls. And they don't follow brands anymore. They all follow people, so especially the players. So there's a big opportunity for right holders that understand how to position their players well in order to reach those younger audiences. And yeah, a lot of football clubs nowadays start to realize that if they go back to the value of the players, they can also generate the right content tapping out of that value of the players. So yeah, I think there's a big opportunity to position the players well and leverage as a right holder.
So how does that content change? Is that we just came off a great women's football panel just then, and something that came up a few times then was the difference between the 2. And obviously there are similarities, but sometimes it's nice to be able to learn from what's been different. Are you producing different kinds of content? Are you focusing more on that narrative? Because I've seen quite a lot of women's football content.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that narrative can maybe focus too much on the struggle, and that can be repetitive where you need to find new stories. What do you find works?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, the target audience is completely different than the men's game. So you also need to address that target audience in a different way. What we see at the women's game, there are mainly young generation of girls. So, and what they like about content is that it's really authentic, buzzword again, but they want to be behind the scenes. They all connect with women's football because they can relate the matches that they have themselves to the role models that they meet at the football club. So they want to be there, right? So they want to have access to behind the scenes content. They want to have a personal relationship with the players. That's the content that they love.
And where are they getting that from? Are there different channels once again?
Yeah, so like Gen Alpha, mainly TikTok and YouTube Shorts. We also see that Gen Z is consuming Instagram more as a source of information. That's where they get updates about upcoming matches, logistics, these kind of things. But obviously TikTok, YouTube Shorts are the key channels now to focus on, I would say.
So what would be the routine? I remember a conversation with somebody at UEFA around the Women's Euros 2 Euros ago, so first time England won it. And it's quite interesting the conversation she was having, in that the challenge that they had was they weren't going in through the normal channels. It was because the dad controls the TV remote, but the mum controls what the girls do in terms of like kind of getting into the sport. And the girls were too young to be kind of attracted through social media because they work on a young Gen Alphas.
Yeah.
Do you use other kind of platforms like that, or is there a roadblock strategy, you think, as well these days?
So I think for the young generations up to 10 years old, that's often the moment that they get a phone themselves. They watch through their parents, so there's also a big opportunity for football clubs to target the parents, because these are in the end also the people who buy the tickets for matches. They don't do that themselves, the younger generation. So I'm not sure if there's a big Roblox strategy. I do know that they love gaming, younger generations. So I think there are a lot of potential crossovers there. But if you really want to reach that young generation, the route is through the parents.
And is there still, because it seems to be quite different, if you see like a match-going crowd compared to maybe kind of what we're told about what the online media crowd is, they seem quite different. Do you see that, and is there a different approach to kind of getting fans into the stadiums as opposed to kind of building social audiences?
Yes, to be honest, I'm not very specialized in how young men generations connect with football. Sorry, can you repeat your question, perhaps?
No, maybe so. I was wondering about if you're trying to bring young fans into the stadiums to watch women's football. It's not what you see on TV. It's not all women. It's not all young girls. There is also like there's established male fans who might follow the men's team and move into the women's. Are you, or would you suggest using different approaches to get one in than the other?
No, so I think that indeed, like the young generations, for example, Gen Alpha, they have the same drivers, women and men. They often play themselves at school or at the local football clubs. And they go to matches of Aston Villa women or other football clubs women to connect with their heroes that they see on the field. So if you're a club, I think you in your communication can really highlight that matches of professional football team are a good way for young generations to meet their idols.
Well, I would say you touch on something that is quite relevant, which is the remote fan and the fluid fan. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if we look at fan engagement, then fan engagement and the value that it represents for rights holders or people in football has changed in a variety of ways because of it. So, for instance, the live rights used to be the main driver of income. And what we see is that this digital engagement is not capped or limited to the 90 minutes that might have previously been the case. Right now, people are always involved. And the live rights and the live event is becoming less important, ironically enough. If we look at Arsenal versus West Ham, I don't think many people might have watched the games, but everybody has gotten involved in the VAR conversation about, should it or should it not be disallowed or allowed. It's examples like these where you see the commercial value and the impact that it has on fans and their behavior has dramatically changed, and the value of it has also changed between remote fans, fluid fans, and the value that the game represents, the social impact it makes.
We mentioned we could discuss data, so let's bring data into this conversation then. In the past, if you had a relationship with your club, then you might be signed up to a mailing list or involved in some other ways, maybe you're a season ticket holder, and that relationship was quite an easy one to define. It wasn't as disparate as it is now. Whereas now, if we are going down the route of, let's say, you're a Manchester City fan, and you're a big follower of Haaland, and then if Haaland moves to Real Madrid, you're going to follow Haaland to Real Madrid, and you want to follow what he's doing there. From then, the club doesn't own that relationship, it ends with the player. Is that a challenge for the rights holders in that case, from the way you see it? So that they have to kind of give up some of that relationship to grow through the player?
Well, I think if we're being mildly critical of rights holders at the moment, then if you look at the cumulative footprint of the club versus the cumulative footprint of the club and its players, then I think very, very few rights holders actually have a visual or an understanding of the cumulative footprint and the social impact that their club is making at the moment. Also, I think if we look at players and we look at them critically, of what they are actually doing with their footprint, then I think very, very few athletes actually on the fan involvement ladder get anywhere beyond followers. So they do not get to subscribers, basically because there's nothing to subscribe to, let alone that they get to customers, clients, members, or raving fans. So if you really want to engage fans and you really want to get the highest possible value out of fans, then you need to ensure that you fill that fan involvement ladder up, because the higher up the ladder, you might have less fans, but you will have more valuable fans.
So you're both working with athletes to help them kind of create this content, build this fandom. Is that a challenge when you have athletes who dedicate their entire career to become the best they can be at playing football? That's all they want to do. That's all they want to be. It's all they maybe want to do now. They're not looking, especially if they're a young player, not looking to their careers when they're mid-30s and maybe want to get into broadcast or something else. Is it harder to make them have that switch? Is it easier maybe for the women's players? Not everyone wants to be kind of the football equivalent of Brian Duchambeau in golf and to kind of build up a massive YouTube following. They want to make sure they're concentrating on the pitch and winning titles.
Yeah, so I think that you need to be comfortable with it, right? So a lot of athletes, yeah, they became an athlete. They didn't become a creator, right? So you need to be comfortable with it. But I do think that on the women's side, it's essential because there's not enough value in a contract between a player and a club, for example, to have a sustainable income for these players often. So commercial deals that they get from being an athlete brand themselves, I think is essential for them in order to succeed.
Well, I think it's a painful but factual observation that athletes do not get paid for their talent and they do not get paid for their hard work. Athletes get paid for the attention that they generate. Sometimes that's a tough message, but it is the reason why the Savannah Bananas actually make a living. They are not the best baseball players on the planet, but they get people to pay attention and to attend and pay for tickets. It's the reason why football players make money and archers do not. They are both very talented and they both invest incredible time and effort in mastering their skills, but one gets paid and the other one does not. And if we look at Jake Paul, if we look at Mondo Duplantis versus Warholm, if we look at the Netflix Cup, or if we look at any of those more entertainment-based sport offerings that are appearing now, then I think the sports industry should look at itself in the mirror and wonder, are we doing enough to entertain our crowd? Or are we resting on our laurels on traditional intellectual property that we feel should be worth a lot of money? Fans will vote with their hearts, their minds, and their wallets. And right now they are voting for different products in different categories that are less sports performance centric and more entertainment biased. And I'm not saying that sports should become a festival and that everybody should be wearing a green wig. That's not at all what I'm proposing. I'm a traditional sports customer myself. But what I am saying is that it's worthwhile, if you actually want to be a professional business or want to be a professional athlete, is that you are aware of how money is being spent in this industry, who is spending it, on what, and for what reasons. And if we look at the old-fashioned definition of the owner of the Mavericks, Cuban, he said, we are in the business of selling shared experiences. And I believe that's factual, but I do believe that the digital infrastructure has changed the experiences that we are willing to pay for.
Brings us. I want to go back actually to a point from the previous panel from Bayern Munich and Lena Oberdorf, which I thought was fascinating. Because we worked with Lena Oberdorf back when she was at Essen before she moved to Wolfsburg and Bayern Munich, and it's clear from that she had a really strong personality. She was comfortable in front of the camera, and was just, even behind the scenes content was gold. The idea of having players like that still work and still kind of bring in attention, I like the idea of doing it in the women's game. Do you think that's something that could work in the men's, or is there a barrier to that where players now have just got akin to the idea of, well, I'm injured, I'm not on duty anymore? Or do you think our club's missing out because they don't notice what Bayern Munich noticed by the fact that she can still sell shirts?
I'm much more skeptical than what you're currently posing. I don't think many athletes are actually building brands. I do not believe they have strategic objectives at all. I don't believe athletes, players have measurable brand objectives. I think they have no idea what they're trying to achieve. And if you have no goals, then you're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping that it will stick. So, and many athletes are actually quite good at it because they have the numbers, they just don't have the strategy. So many players will actually appreciate that it's quite important. Many club owners and rights holders will say, yeah, of course our athletes are brands, but they do not have plans. So there's no strategic objectives, there's no auditing results, there's no accountability. Most athletes are simply branding by chance rather than building with intention. So I'm cautious.
You're skeptical.
Yeah, a little bit, yes. I'm afraid so.
Let's move on to the World Cup. Michael, big business for you. Just give us a little bit of background as to your role, well, not your role in the World Cup, you're not playing, but your company's role in the World Cup.
Okay, that's great. So we're planning to do the logistic transportation for fans, teams, and sponsorship for the FIFA World Cup 2026. We expect about 20,000 guests in transportation for our company. People never realize that transportation is. When you think about the FIFA World Cup, we think about the soccer, the main game, the fans going to the game, but they never realize that there's a lot of things on the back of that. There's like the experience of the fans since they get to the airport, going to the hotel, going to the game. Transportation is one of the main essential for the experience of the fans. And in 2026, the World Cup, we're going to have 16 cities, hosting cities. It's a very challenging compared to the World Cup in the past because it's 3 different countries. And operation become very extremely different for this event, but we're excited to have this event in 1 month and deliver the best transportation for the event, because when you think about transportation, you never realize that how important it is for the event in terms for the fan experience, but we're excited for that.
I'm going to disagree with you on one point. If there's one thing, I don't know what it's like over here in the Netherlands, but there's 2 things that are in the news about the World Cup. One is the price of tickets, and the other is getting to and from the game.
Yeah.
So I think in this situation, I think a lot of fans are going to be quite conscious about how they do get to and from the games. With regards, you've been involved with the World Cup since 2010 when it was in Brazil. We've had some quite different World Cups between then. We've had a geographically large one in the sense of Russia, with some very spread out cities, then a very condensed one with Qatar, and now obviously a very wide one. How have things changed between then, from let's say like 2010, or even back into Qatar to where we are now, that changes the kind of service that you do and what you need to do, or what fans expect when they're, when they need that experience to have that good connection to the brand?
I feel the difference now is all the technologies that we have it. In terms like in 2010, 2014, Brazil, 2010, South Africa. For us, in terms like the communication with the client, the fans, and the sponsorship, the teams. At the back time, everything was take some time. You used to have like emails, text message, cell phone. And nowadays, with all the technology that you have it, GPS, live manifest, make the communication with the client, the sponsor, the whole environment for the fans better. I think that's the main part, the fast communication with the client.
Yeah, I think when we talk about communications, I think I was at all those World Cups, and a couple of things did quite dramatically change. And I think one of the things that changed is that now when the anthem plays, basically everybody in the crowd is filming the anthems being sung. And content creation has become a participatory sport where everybody is a creator and you can never out-create the community impact of your community, the content impact of your community. So rather than just becoming content creators, rights holders are increasingly becoming content conductors. And I think the best example of this would be Taylor Swift. She actually played in this stadium a couple of nights. And there's nobody that goes to the Eras Tour. There's not a Swiftie that goes to the Eras Tour without creating content. And because Taylor herself is so incredibly clear for her about what is on-brand or off-brand, all the brand content that's being created by her Swifties is on-brand, magnifying the media exposure and engagement rates of her community tenfold. Community is not a passive role. If you're a community member, then there needs to be opportunities for you to participate and deliver and influence and matter. In this time of AI, we all want to matter. There was this lovely presentation from South by Southwest on mattering, where how do you as a rights holder, do we as an industry actually make our fans, make our customers believe that they actually do matter? And that, I think, is incredibly important, strengthening this parasocial relationship. If you'll allow me, there's this lovely stat about the cumulative income of all the players in the NBA. All the players in the NBA together make $5 billion, which is significant. All the creators on OnlyFans make $7 billion. And the question, of course, is why do the creators of OnlyFans make $7 billion? The obvious answer would be that sex sells, or that nudity sells, but there's more nudity on the web for free than all four of us could finish in 5 lifetimes. You know, that's not
Very strange challenge you've set down at Soccerex.
Yeah, true. But what I'm saying is nudity is for free. So it's not the nudity that is making all these men spend this 7 billion. And if it's not the nudity, then the question is, what is it? And I believe it's the illusion of proximity. It is the parasocial relationship that all of these men are experiencing with these ladies. And that is where I think there's a valuable lesson in sports, where we consciously and intentionally deepen the parasocial relationships that our fans have with the teams, the players, and the leagues that they are so passionate involved with. And it's that level of intention of actually deepening that relationship, making people believe that they matter, strengthening those parasocial relationships that will inevitably increase and deepen the experiences that Mark Cuban was talking about.
There was a tangent I didn't expect us to go off, but let's going to keep going down that tangent ever so slightly. Is it possible for players, I'm going to talk about male players now just because of the profile and the extracurricular activities that they're already involved with, they already have quite extensive media work, etc. Is it possible to build such a parasocial relationship when you have such a large following to begin with? Or I guess that answers the previous point you made before. If you've got 100 million followers but you engage with none of them, then surely a million followers you're very deeply engaged with is what you're looking for.
Yeah, well, I wasn't actually planning on quoting Plato, the Greek philosopher, but here I go. Plato said that 1 hour of play will tell you more about a person than a lifetime of conversation. And once we see these athletes play and we see them get hit and we see them lose and we see them get up and we see them get hurt and we see them celebrate, we believe we know who they are and we believe that they would actually like us a lot if they only knew us. You know, it's this level of intimacy that athletes radiate, but it's also this level of belonging and connection that sport entities can establish. We love brands and we love clubs and we love federations because we, at our deepest core, believe that our connection with this institution tells the world something about us. I'm a PSV Eindhoven fan. Thank you very much. Proud champions, thank you.
You know where you are, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, fair enough.
All the more reason to do this. And I believe it says something about me that I belong to this club. That's also why I love the Spanish. If you support a club, it's not something you do. It's something you are. Me soy. I don't know. What is your team?
Internacional Porto Alegre, Brazil.
So that's who you are, right? That's who your family is. It tells the world something about who you are and what you represent, and it's still the reason I still wear these shoes.
And the top as well, and the jacket.
Not necessarily the top, but
Oh, sorry, I thought it was an Adidas top. I stand corrected. We have 5 minutes, 8 seconds. If there are any questions from the audience, if you can fit in a Greek philosopher quote, brownie points for you. Anybody?
no philosophers.
No? Okay, go on. I'll throw in one myself. World Cup coming, Men's World Cup. Who's the biggest brand at the World Cup? Doesn't have to be a player. Go on.
Brand, I was gonna say Coca-Cola.
And why is that? Is that through longevity? They've always, I mean, they've been one of the longest standing FIFA partners. Yeah. So if you, okay, we'll flip it again. If you were a brand, who would you want to associate yourself with at the World Cup? Or what decisions would you go through to make that decision?
Well, I think it's tough. I think if we look at it from a brand point of view, then I think the World Cup is an interesting case. In the sense that I believe FIFA has an awful reputation. And I believe the World Cup is the most loved event at the world at the same time. And it is a miracle that an event that is this special and is this dominant in the world, that you can already predict that on the day of the final, you will be watching this final together with your friends. And it's such a predictable and such a powerful moment in time that you know that two countries on this planet will forever cherish this day or remember it with pain in their hearts. And you also know that when you are watching the World Cup final by yourself, something in your life has dramatically gone wrong. The World Cup final is made to be shared together, right? You watch it together, even if your country isn't in it. And it's that level of cultural relevance that I believe is so incredibly powerful, not only for the event itself, but also for our sport as an industry, that I think it's an incredible asset to cherish and to be very protective over. And I'm kind of worried with the extension from the 64 games to the 106 games of this event that it will change the way we engage with the event. And of course, time zones and cultural backgrounds always do, and every event becomes an event on its own, but bigger isn't necessarily better. And I'm hoping that we will all be proven wrong and that it will be an exceptional event. Of course, the logistics will be fantastic. Of course, the commercial results will be bigger than ever. But I would love it to remain accessible. I would love it to remain as powerful and emotional as it has been in the past. And I, for one, look forward to the event. So if I were to name an asset or an element of the event that I am particularly passionate about and envious of, then it's this enormous, momentous, monumental cultural impact that the event is making around the planet. It's unprecedented. It's unbelievable.
It would be a great place to leave it. Last call for questions. All right, well, 1 minute, 40 seconds. Who's going to win it?
Absolutely zero doubt the Netherlands are going to be the proud world champions.
Of course.
I agree.
At least I'm an optimist, you know what I mean? It's like, there we go.
I'll go for Brazil.
Bold choice. Bold choice. Brilliant. Well, that's been fantastic. I've saved you 1 minute and 20 seconds back, so we're going to get back on schedule. Thank you to everybody else.